Tom Brady, no longer in the NFL. Mike Fisher, I'm still involved. Richie Witt, still involved.
Weird to say Tom Brady's not in the NFL.
Bittersweet in some ways, because it's not like if you're a fan of teams other than the Buccaneers or the Patriots, you were necessarily a fan of Tom Brady.
A lot of people going, it's about dang time today, right?
You do get tired as a fan of the same old, same old. We like the new present under the Christmas tree.
Yeah, and Brady's only been doing it for 22 years. I was doing some numbers crunching today, and you know, he played twice as long as Roger Staubach, who, to a lot of Cowboys fans, he played for their entire lives.
Yeah.
Brady, what he accomplished was just, I mean, he's the GOAT of GOATs, and for him to be gone, it's going to be weird in the NFL next year.
Do we do him a favor by overlooking some of the foibles, like the deflated football?
You can't overlook that because that's part of his body of work. And now his body of work is still unprecedented success. But you can't just say, don't worry about, you know, Spygate he benefited from. He benefited from, and I hate these terms, but Deflategate.
I hate putting gate at the end of it because that's bad writing. But that's where we are. That's where writing is in America.
People, they relate to that. So yeah, you've got to put those two little asterisks by whatever he did, but the weight of his success just crushes that into crumbs.
Is ESPN botching this story over the weekend, 4 days ahead of his actual retirement announcement? Is that part of our business? Is it unavoidable? Did they screw up, or did they get to say, hey, we were right?
My head is very conflicted on this because it was weird how ESPN, Tom Brady is retiring. Yeah. That's not retired, but is retiring is very open-ended, right? And
because he is. They were right.
They were right because Brady's dad comes, that's absolutely not right.
Right.
And ESPN says, forget it, we're going to run the scroll all weekend. And they were right. So does ESPN have egg on it? Did they beat everybody? And then I think they played it right. Just give it a day or two. The thing I found fascinating was, you probably heard Tom Brady's horrible radio show on Sirius with Jim Gray.
Yeah.
That was Monday night. Jim Gray asked him point blank, where are we now? And Tom Brady on his own show said, I need some time to think about it. And 14 hours later says, I've thought about it. Why would he not break it on his own radio show with Jim Gray? That's kind of embarrassing for the show, but you know, we won't remember this in 10 years. We're going to remember all of his success and achievements and not, you know, the semantics of how it all went
If
down.
you're not in the field of journalism, you might not even care now.
Right.
It does stick in my craw a little bit that Saturday, ESPN ran that scroll all day without ever mentioning, to my knowledge, that Tom Brady's agent and dad and general manager said there's no decision made. Maybe they should have tucked that in there.
I would have, and you would have, and we would have. But yeah, ESPN didn't, and now, you know, 48 hours later, they can say we were right all along. So,
Richie Witt, Mike Fisher, we are at Dallas Cowboys headquarters. Is there a Tom Brady-esque Cowboy? Is there a GOAT Cowboy that we can say, well, Tom Brady did this over here as he retires, and look at this Cowboy, or this collection of Cowboys?
There's a Tom Brady-esque, but there's not a Tom Brady. Of course, there's only one Tom Brady. But think about this, a couple of nuggets as it relates to the Cowboys. Tom Brady threw more touchdown passes after the age of 40 than Troy Aikman threw in his whole career. That's mind-boggling to me. Crazy.
Game has changed and all that, but still.
Yeah, obviously. But the Cowboys also, they've been playing football since 1960. One of the, if not the most storied franchises in the NFL. 5 Super Bowls, been to 8 Super Bowls. Every year, playoff drama. Tom Brady has as many playoff wins as the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
That just shows you how dominant he's been, how we'll never see another one. Now, if you do think about the Cowboys, and I was born and raised in Dallas and went to the Cotton Bowl on Dad's shoulders back in the day, it's Roger Staubach or Emmitt Smith. The GOAT of the Cowboys. It's one of those two guys. And as much as I love Roger, I lean towards Emmitt because he's got 3 Super Bowl rings, 4 rushing titles, Super Bowl MVP, NFL MVP, and 18 years since he retired, okay? 18 years, he still has gaping leads in rushing yards and all-time rushing touchdowns.
He is the Brady of running backs,
there you
if
go.
You look at it that way.
I mean, 18 years from now, is Brady going to hold every passing record still? Because Emmitt, 18 years later, still does.
We're probably giving a stiff arm to Bob Lilly.
He was the original. I mean, Mr. Cowboy, the first draft choice, 11 Pro Bowls, won a Super Bowl, anchored the Doomsday defense. But not the longevity. Only one Super Bowl. Most franchises would love to have Bob Lilly as their Mr. Whatever.
Right.
Cowboys have a couple guys who've done a little bit more.
Okay, let's look at this Tom Brady concept as it relates to other teams around the league. Let's go to the Houston Texans.
Every team has a GOAT, but some of them are just really
Some of them
diluted.
aren't quite
some
Tom
are
Brady.
Diluted, some of them are just little lambs.
All right, the Houston Texans haven't been around the same number of years as some.
Right.
That impacts their deal. I think Houston Texans GOAT, the Tom Brady-esque Texan, comes down to two guys. Andre Johnson, the wide receiver, J.J. Watt, the defensive lineman.
Yeah, that's tough, isn't it? To me, it's Andre Johnson. When I think of the Texans, I think of Andre Johnson because he was like, before Deshaun Watson, they had just a myriad mishmash of quarterbacks, all throwing the ball to Andre Johnson, who made plays and got them to places they were. They always had a good defense. J.J. Watt led it. They always had a horrible offense, and Andre Johnson was the guy.
Now, J.J. Watt, 3 NFL Defensive Player of the Years, I believe. It doesn't get much better than that.
He's probably the face of the franchise, if you think about it. I'm not sure he was a better player than Andre Johnson, but he's certainly in the past 20 years, J.J. Watt is the face of the Texans.
Andre Johnson, of course, closing in on becoming an NFL Pro Football Hall of Famer, and J.J. Watt will be one 5 years after he's done. Richie Witt, Mike Fisher on the NFL and the Texans. To Washington, which does have a long history, but when I come up in my mind with who's their GOAT, who's their Tom Brady all time, I'm struggling to get that guy.
Yeah.
Is there that guy?
No, there's not. Ask the Cowboys. The Cowboys hate Washington forever and ever and ever. Who do the Cowboys hate the most? There's not a guy. There's not a Roger Staubach. There's not an Emmitt Smith. I mean, Art Monk, is that the guy? I mean, when he retired, he was the all-time NFL leading receiver with touchdowns. When he retired, he was their GOAT.
Big numbers.
The big numbers.
They're at quarterback. Part of their problem is they've had a bunch of really goods.
Yeah.
Staubach was good. Doug Williams was highly successful. Billy Kilmer was good. Sonny Jurgensen was good.
Theismann had his time.
Yeah.
Mark Rippon won the Super Bowl, and people don't even remember him.
Darrell Green was outstanding. But do they call him Mr. Washington?
No. Who do they call? Is that Chris Hanburger? Is that Ron McDowell? Who's Mr. Washington?
As Washington goes forward with its new mascot, its new name, its new uniform, and all the rest.
You ready for the Commanders?
I'm ready for anything. I'm ready for Commanders. I'm ready for Commandos. I'm not ready for Comanches. I do not believe that Comanches would fly at this time. But I do believe that Washington, in addition to its new stuff, it needs to find its first ever GOAT on a Tom Brady-esque level, or an Emmitt Smith level, or a J.J. Watt level. It's really weird that after a century,
they won Super Bowls,
and all their great, all the
John
greatness.
Riggins, is he?
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's a good one.
This Washington franchise has incredible greatness over the course of years, but maybe not, interestingly, that singular guy. Tom Brady is out of the NFL, which also means he's out of the Atlanta Falcons division.
Boy,
Shoo.
Talk about the happiest team probably that Brady's gone. It's got to be the Falcons in the NFC South. Think about the Falcons in the last week. You hadn't done anything this offseason, really, and you've gotten a lot better. Why? Sean Payton out of your division, Tom Brady out of your division. You're all of a sudden, that division's more appetizing for the Falcons.
And some disarray in Carolina, where Matt Rule is on somewhat thin ice and changing his coaching staff. Do the Atlanta Falcons have a historic, not that he's Tom Brady, do our beloved Atlanta Falcons have a GOAT, their version?
What's the first name you think of when you think Atlanta Falcons? Is it Dion? Is it Jerry Glanville? Oh, he didn't play, but that was, the Dirty Bird Falcons.
Okay.
When they went to the Super Bowl. Or is it Matt Ryan, who over time has been as close to Brady as that franchise ever sniffed?
Matt Ryan is probably is literally the Atlanta version of Brady.
He's
longevity,
top 10 all-time quarterback in every passing stat.
Right. Now, I don't know that people outside Atlanta think of him as a Hall of Fame quarterback, but everything says he is.